what should be in your progress notes? What I'm going to outline applies to even you out-of-network providers, those of you who haven't contracted with an insurance plan. Because remember, as I said, when a client turns in an invoice to an insurance plan, your chart and treatment can be reviewed, and they may want details of the symptoms and the treatment. So for everyone, what follows is an outline of an ideal clinical record. So insurance plans and intakes. Okay, we're going to talk about intakes. Now, don't be at home taking a million notes. This is a lot of notes that are going to come up. That's why I have the slide handouts you can download at our landing page, which again is theinsuranceMaze.com/ZM for Zinimi. So you don't have to write down every one of these. Okay, so intake. What do health plans? I compared 8 health plans of the largest health plans in the United States. What do they want to see in our intake notes? And again, even if you don't work with insurance, this is a great outline. Okay, so in your intake, you should have symptoms, problems, and problem history. This should be something that you're asking in each one of these are things that you should be asking in your first session. What is their psychiatric history, including hospitalizations? Like, what have they been to therapy before, basically? Current medications, including over-the-counter medications, the prescribing doctor, and contact information. The over-the-counter meds was something I added because insurance plans wanted it, and it's been a very helpful one. I've been able to find out when people are abusing or using over-the-counter medications in ways they aren't meant to. It's a real helpful one. Psychosocial information, medical issues that are relevant. They do want you to get a relevant history of significant medical issues and allergies. They want you to do a mental status exam, definitely in the first session. Some insurance plans even want you to do a little one in each one of your session notes. That's a little bit more of a Medicare probably requirement, but you should have a mental status exam, I would say, in every intake. You're going to want to do a risk assessment maybe say how you assessed it. So just saying client not endangered to himself. Well, how did you assess that? Did you ask questions? Did you give them a little quiz? So that's one area of risk, danger to self or others, and also substance use assessment, alcohol, drug, cigarettes. So, you may not get to all of this in the first session. It's fine. Whatever you didn't get to in the first session, maybe you kind of follow up in the second session. That's fine. A kind of a tentative diagnosis. Some people may take you more than one session to kind of nail that in, but you want to start saying your diagnostic impressions and any support you have for that you're getting in that first session. The client support system, emergency contact information is really important. And medical necessity and impairment, which we'll talk a lot more about. And it's also a good idea to document any significant administrative discussions, particularly about if you decided to slide their fee and how did that go and what did you decide on and what did you agree on, or any payment plans that were whatever administrative, what concerns they had about confidentiality or what could get back to their employer. So if they have concerns, try to document those. What about progress notes? Okay, here's the ongoing progress notes. What do insurance plans usually require? Here's a huge one. If you've been starting to doze off, wake up here. They want the actual session start and end times. So many of you have like electronic health record that automatically enters into the session note the start and stop time of the scheduled session. So that every week I would see 1 to 1:55, 1 to 1:55, 1 to 1:55. No, right? You either need to override that or write in the session note itself the actual therapy start and stop times. So if this person was 5 minutes late, you're going to want to say 1:05 to 1:55, let's say. And then next week, maybe you started 1 minute after the hour and it should be 1:01 to 1:54. So we really need you in each session to write the therapy portion of the hour. And this cannot include time that you spent waiting for the client or scheduling the next session or writing notes for the session. Okay. Why is this so important? This is a main thing that health plans are auditing for right now. They feel like a lot of us are maybe doing 45, 50-minute sessions. Maybe a client's late, maybe they leave early, and we're just billing each time for a 60-minute session. So sometimes if you don't get, and to bill for a 60-minute session, individual session, which is what a lot of us do, the 90837, you need to have 53 minutes of actual therapy time. So to bill for a 60-minute, the threshold is 53 and above. So if the client is a little bit late or the client ends a little early or whatever, and you don't get that 53-minute, you need to downcode it to the 90834. And the insurance plans are expecting to see downcodes every once in a while. And if they don't see that, they get suspicious, and sometimes they tend to reach out to you and say, hey, or else sometimes you may be at the head of the line for an audit. So something to just, it's fine if they're going to audit you, but you want to have the backup for each date that, yes, you actually did put in that 53 minutes or that more. I hope that makes sense. So we said, what if your electronic record puts in the scheduled time? Definitely either override it or just write the first thing in your note should say something like, just put the actual therapy times. You should have the date and the client's name on each page. What kind of service type was it? Individual, couples, or group? You also should say any other session attendees, who else was there, if it was a couples or a group. Well, not a group, but if it was a couple or a family kind of thing. Client description of problems, client symptoms. Okay, so what did they bring to that session? What was the topics discussed, basically, and what were the symptoms underlying those topics? Some of us really get caught up in the story the client tells with each one of our session notes. Try to go beyond the story of what they talked about and be sure you highlight the client's symptoms underneath that story. So instead of just we'll show you some examples. Also, you need to write down, okay, now what did you do? What were your interventions? Well, and be as specific as possible. I recommend you have 3 for each session. Why are they so important? I have seen cases where when an insurance plan audits a record, if they see, hey, client talked about this, and this, and appointment next week, and you're invisible in the session, they aren't going to pay. Why should they pay? Because you didn't seem like you were even in the session. Or if your interventions were so, what a colleague calls grandma interventions, if they were listened, supported, validated, these are not things that they necessarily pay for. We want them to be therapeutic level, something you had to go to grad school for. So if you're going to say validated, supported, praised, I still think you owe 3 therapeutic ones that you had to go to grad school to learn. And we'll show you some sample notes, and hopefully you'll get the hang of that. I do have a sample interventions list on our landing page, which is theinsurancemaze.com/ZM. I would want to note also, when you get to that landing page, you will have to enter your email address, and then it will take you immediately to the landing page with all the. So this is kind of like a gateway page, and then you're going to be taken to the actual page with all the resources. They want you to list client strengths and limitations in achieving your treatment plan goals. This one's not as important, I think. I haven't seen them ever punish people for that. But we do want to talk about impairments. How is the client being impaired by their symptoms? This is a really helpful one for kind of talking about why this client needs this sessions. These aren't just personal growth sessions, which we'll talk about that. I have an article link on the landing page, which talks about how to document for impairments. Client in-session behavior and mood. This is on their lists, but I have to say, I don't usually put this in unless it's very unusual. Like client made no eye contact, or client sobbed out of control the entire session. I don't spend a lot of time on this one myself. This one's a little more important, particularly for Medicare and maybe United Behavioral Health or United Healthcare progress toward your treatment plan. They want you in each session note to say, how is the client progressing? What little even notes of progress are you seeing toward their treatment plan goals? Any kind of use of tests, like objective tests, can be helpful in measuring progress. Client is now scoring in a moderate range of on the GAD-7 instead of the severe range or something like that. So if there's little objective test, PHQ-9, GAD-7 that you give to clients and to show their progress, it can be a great way to demonstrate progress to insurance plans too. Support for diagnosis and medical necessity, that should be in each note, and I'll show you about that. And we're going to talk more about medical necessity. Date of the next appointment, that should be in each one too.